It's a slight change today because this is going to be a much more interesting car, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm going to let the owner, Sean, introduce it. Please tell the audience what we're in.
We're currently sitting in a 1969 Chevrolet Camaro SS, imported from America.
This is going to be a very interesting video. Oh my god! So here it is, the 69 Camaro SS, imported into the UK within the last 2 years, and it made its way all the way up here to Aberdeenshire. Sunny Aberdeenshire. No, not really. It was a horrible day for actually cleaning the car to start with. It was drizzling and I wasn't entirely sure if it would dry out, but here it is nonetheless. It was dry enough to clean the car, and that's all that mattered. I love these wheels. A little bit of information about this car. It originally came with the 327 engine, but has been changed over to a 404. That works out at 6.6 litres. And you can really tell there's loads of torque in this engine. Absolutely incredible. And it sounds just as good as it looks. The rear chrome bumper there is pitted. There's not much I can do with it today, but it is going to get re-chromed. So giving the wheels a good clean down first, a rinse off, and getting up there into the wheel arch. The wheels weren't really that dirty. In fact, the whole car wasn't really that dirty, to be fair. There was very little I had to do, but here I've got an all-purpose cleaner degreaser on the tyres, along with a Tough Shine style tyre brush to scrub off any dirt and old dressings on the tyre. I had to be very careful getting to the top there with that slight overbite of the arch. I didn't want to hit it, so I did have to be very careful about where I was working that brush. I really am taking care of this car like an old special car. It really is a special car. So after giving them a rinse off, it's always a good idea to give them a second hit. And if you see that your foam on the tyre brush comes up white, you know you've got everything off the tyre. And I'm throwing that all-purpose cleaner up into the wheel arch, and I'm using my long Vican wheel arch cleaning brush to get up in there and scrub out any loose dirt. Again, there was very little. Now here I'm using Built Hamber Auto Wheel as the wheel cleaner. For any of you who don't know about this, it's a wheel cleaner which contains an iron fallout remover, so I'm giving it a good liberal dose. And then I'm going to leave it 5 minutes. And there's no real iron fallout coming out of it there, which is great. So what I'm doing here is I've got the large wheel woolly, and in the bucket it was soaking in some shampoo that happens to be High Definition Details wheel shampoo. Very nice shampoo indeed. So I'm double hitting these wheels. First the wheel cleaner and now the wheel shampoo. And the large wheel woolly is great. It's able to cover the surfaces nicely. I can reach far back into the wheel well itself, which is great. And these large spokes make it very easy to look after. These wheels were in very good condition, especially around the back of the spokes. But just to make sure I was getting around the back of the spokes, I'm using this Wowo wheel mitt. And this allows me to reach behind properly and get right around there, working those spokes. And I could feel them on the back of the spokes. They were very flat and smooth. So they were great. They were obviously very well cared for. The front wheels were 17s and the rears are 18s. These are 255/45 profile tires. Very wide tires and wheels with that lovely deep dish. Really fantastic. Now that the wheel's clean, I want to hit it with some tar remover because I thought I could see some tar spots on there. And there were only 1 or 2 on it. Again, this is not something that gets used in the bad weather. So after giving it another rinse over, I decided to seal them with Turtle Wax Dry and Shine Rinse Wax. 2 hits of this to make sure it gets everywhere and is able to provide a really nice sealant for the wheels, and the water will just want to run off, as you can see here. And that also means that hopefully in the future, as this car gets driven more, any dirt that settles on the wheels there will not settle for long. That's the front wheel with less of a dish, and you can see some of the iron fallout is coming off from there. I just wanted to show the difference. Now coming to the rinse off here, this is the pre-rinse of the car. I'm being very careful. I was warned about the window seals not being very good, so I tried to keep the water, the high pressure water, away from the window seals as much as possible. And then here I'm hitting it with a citrus pre-wash. This one is Infinity Wax's citrus wash. And just giving it a good dousing over. Like I said, the car is not particularly dirty, but I'm just making sure that anything that's on there is going to come off, and it may also help to remove old protections which are on there too. And there were some sections of the car where there was a bit of beading going on, but not much. So the car gets a proper pressure rinse now to help push off any dirt that the citrus pre-wash has been able to loosen up. I was also warned about the boot lid there. Apparently there is a hole somewhere, possibly where the spoiler is bolted through, and I was warned that there may be some water getting into the boot. We'll look at that later. Here I've got 10 wash mitts in a bucket. I'm using 1 per panel, throwing it in the empty bucket and carrying on with the rest. I'm basically being as careful as I can with this car. I really don't want to subject it to any extra damage. This thing is 51 years old after all. It's only just a little bit older than Paul Dolden. Now here you can see the grille and the headlights here. This section is a real horror for dirt. Lots of dirt could be sitting in all of those grille sections. So out come the wheel woolies. Absolutely fantastic at getting into all of these little gaps in the grille. Both the medium and the small one. Really useful, not just for wheels. I'm so pleased I've got these. After giving the car a gentle dry with a twisted loop microfiber drying towel, I then switched to this other towel to pick up whatever was left from the car. And now here, the boot lid doesn't want to stay open, but you can see there's a puddle there, a puddle of water in the boot. So out comes a broom to hold the boot lid open, looking to see how much water there is there, taking this opportunity to go around with another drying towel and pick up any water that was left around the seals. And then here I'm using my wet vac to suck out that puddle of water as much as could be removed as possible. Very effective, very useful to have a wet vac. And what you're left with is that watermark. But here I've got my pet dryer turned up to high with the heat at maximum, and I'm basically drying out whatever water was left in the boot. So I'm not leaving any wet patches at all. And also useful on drying out most of the water on the wheels. And then a quick microfiber to dry the rest of them up. The pet dryer was also useful for getting into all of these nooks and crannies in the grille, although I had to put my headphones in because this is the most obnoxiously loud thing when you blow it into tight gaps. Now, to improve the look of the paint, it's all about preserving the paint where possible. So instead of polish, I'm using a glaze. This is Autofinesse Ultra Glaze, and I'm just wiping it on like a moisturizer onto skin, and then buffing it off. Although it was a dull, dreich day, it was also quite warm, so it cured very, very quickly, but I could see that it was really starting to improve the colour of the car. Here I'm just going to do one half of this section, and hopefully you'll get to see a difference. You don't need to work this in hard, just work it smooth and even, allow it to dry or to haze, and you can do a finger swipe just like a wax. Give it a buff, make sure you've left nothing behind. And now, where my finger is a line. It's not massively obvious, but you do see it when I move the camera from one side to the other. The right side is slightly darker and richer. And I'm using this lamp here to show the scratches and swirls. This is on the left side. Move across to the right side and you can see that darker, richer gloss there. And some of those swirls have been filled and have become less visible. Move back across to the left and you can see it's more visible. So the glaze is certainly doing its job. Like I said, I don't want to go at this paint with abrasives, so the glaze is definitely a bonus. It does take some time to apply this, just as if you were hand polishing a car, although obviously there's a little bit less effort with a glaze. I could have used the machine polisher, but I decided against it. I wanted to be as safe and gentle with this paint as possible. And once that's done, it's time for dressing. This is what tripped me up now. I used one of my favourite dressings, which is CarPro Pearl. And here you'll notice that it doesn't really want to soak into this plastic. This plastic is older and it's very smooth. It's a hard, smooth plastic, and it's not very conducive to soaking up dressing products. So I had to switch over to a microfiber applicator and pick up what I could that was left over and try and leave behind a very, very thin film instead. Eventually it did start to work, but the front was exactly the same. I've never experienced this type of plastic on a car before. Obviously I'm used to modern plastics. And again, the really fiddly job of getting into the grille, which took me a very long time. For the front splitter there, I changed things up a bit. Instead of using Pearl, I used Infinity Wax plastic and rubber wax instead, and it seemed to take to this splitter just a little bit easier, a little bit nicer. Then when it came to the tires, I used Chemical Guy's VRP for vinyl, rubber and plastic on one of these cheap Wish tire applicators. And it's been a while since I've used one of these. Sean told me that he prefers somewhere in between a gloss and a matte finish, a nice satin finish. I have to admit I really like the finish that came up with this VRP. I was very happy with it, and it spreads a good way as well. Very nice and easy to use. Definitely gets into the tires nicely. And then to finish up and protect the paint, I applied a wax. This happens to be Poor Boy's World Natty's Paste Wax. This is the red one with the wild strawberry scent. It smells fantastic. And it's a very easy to use wax in sun and shade. You can smell it as you're applying it, which is really nice. I'm using a soft foam applicator to apply it like a sponge. But enough of the teasing here. I'm not going to show you me waxing the whole car. You want to see it and hear it. I was so glad to be able to get out on a sunny day and see this thing properly. It was really shining, the gloss was deeper, the car just looked so much nicer. Sean was happy with this, and I'm really glad he was. This is the first time I've dealt with a classic car. I am really pleased with how it turned out. I'm going to leave you with some beauty shots here, but if you guys enjoyed this video, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you ring the notification bell so you don't miss my next video uploads. But in the meantime, I've been Specky. Thank you to Sean for letting me take care of his pride and joy. Thank you to you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.